really, just because the Storm really needs that damage output. Otherwise, what is the point of mana on the Storm if you can't dish out the damage, right? I think that's what it essentially boils down to.
Attacker versus 7E will be an incredibly important matchup for Attacker. He needs to show off some of that individual skill, but 7E will be sorting him out early.
It does seem a fairly even matchup as far as the laning phase goes. Of course, it should shift towards Attacker's favor, particularly if you can come in with some sneaky rotation from the Snapfire. But right now, Freeze is getting pushed back. This is the way you play against a Timbersaw. When he is at the level 1, he is vulnerable, so you want to dish out as much damage towards him as you can. And on that mid lane, T-Time Attacker is destroying the Storm. 7E barely has 2 lost hits, while Attacker has as many denies. And 7, he's gotten 7 out of 8 creeps in the mid lane so far.
And this is one of the things that made Attacker so great as a mid laner on Kunkka specifically, is that he knows every matchup, he knows how to get the harass out appropriately, and he will always hit every single tiebringer perfectly on the angle he wants, and the way to push out he wants. It becomes very difficult then because of the entire pressure that he puts on, you get so many more opportunities to land a torrent that you normally don't. So it's going to be very interesting to see how 7E continues to adapt.
CTY should be having a good time though on that top side. Juggernaut is one of those heroes that you can't really do much against when you're coming in with a lane that is primarily built around magical damage. There's no reason why the cookie should ever land on the Juggernaut. He can essentially just spin mid-animation. And the Phoenix can't do much either. She comes in with overtime damage that the Juggernaut can just reverse by just popping the healing ward. So it does seem like a favorable carry matchup.
I was going to say, I think we could end up seeing some kills on this top lane because CTY should be able to take down the Phoenix when Burning's glimpse is back. Phoenix only has one way to get away. The Icarus dive is awful versus the Disruptor, so this offlane is going to be incredibly reliant on the Snapfire, in fact, keeping things honest for the Juggernaut and Disruptor, and that's a very hard harass war to win out. And in the meanwhile, not just once but twice, this time the top lane will have a kill going the other way. Burning to fall, King to take him down.
A nice return kill, but it does favor PTigers, particularly on the Juggernaut, right? A carry getting the win, or rather a carry getting a kill, particularly the first blood, is going to go a long way in him achieving a Battle Fury before the anti-mage does. And that's essentially what this game will boil down to. Whose carry can farm faster? And it's not as if E7 have any other strategy, because you can't ever deviate from a 4 protect 1 strategy. You have to stick to it.
Well, the one good thing about an anti-mage versus Storm is I do see Archie being harassed up. He'll be shadow worded up to slightly more health as well. Anti-mage can TP in a lot earlier into fights, so it won't be entirely 4 protect 1. It will be some, hey, I can come in with a mana void or 2, and the threat of that will always be there. So now more than ever for E7, it's really important for them to defend their tier 1 towers. That's normally not as much of a priority when you're playing 4 protect 1. I think it is going to have to be in this game.
I think you definitely can come in with the early mana void, particularly because you know PTigers will be trying to create tempo at the back of 7E having his ball lightning. But you need to do so in a way that doesn't put you too far behind in comparison to CTY's farm. I think that you have to keep in mind, or rather have to keep the Juggernaut in your mind, and where he is at all times, how much he's able to get out of this lane. Right now, it is pretty much an even score line as far as the lost hits go between both of these two carries, as Freeze needs to be a bit careful. There's no danger to him because he's very close to his tier 1 tower, but still, maybe with the rotation they can take this Timbersaw down. And one of the things that
chances on this Spirit Breaker are going to be very interesting over here as well, Touch, because it doesn't feel like there's an obvious kill outside of the top lane. Killing Attacker is going to be incredibly difficult. He's very tanky, 1200 HP, so this bot lane is where he'll keep the pressure on. Archie has to be careful. If he gets bashed up, that could be death. He'll stay alive courtesy of the Shadow Word, but it gets scary for a second.
I think the OBS is designed to achieve the Power Rune contest, as Archie really needs to be careful. He'll be able to get out, but this is one of the dangers of the anti-mage versus the Spirit Breaker. You have to be so careful of where you're blinking in, or rather any blink hero, right? In this case, it's the anti-mage. Because when you blink in, you will be vulnerable against that charge. Anti-mage will not create a Lincoln Sphere because it's a similar problem to the Storm Spirit, where you put yourself too far behind.
Meanwhile, too far behind is going to be the Phoenix as well. Icarus dive is not going to do anything. It is a quick kill onto Sultan. And now a charge onto the top lane coming out from Op. He's going to interrupt it in midway. Doesn't want to take away more XP from Burning and the Juggernaut. Storm Spirit mid lane. Can't dodge out the boat. Attacker will keep him honest. Pushes him away. The second Storm hits level 6. And by doing so, he's going to not just get a bit of a farm advantage. It's going to be very important that Storm's leveling and his ability to gank other lanes is going to be kept away.
And I think the biggest benefit of all is the fact that he did so very close to that 6-minute power rune timing, so Storm will not be here for it. He'll be busy replenishing his HP and mana. That leaves E7 free to pick up the rune. King will be able to grab it.
Oh, he has to be careful because the Storm is TPing back in, and with the help of the charge, this should be a kill. King is overstepped, and while King goes down over here in the top lane, Archie has died to freeze, so deaths across the map as PaperTigers will not get the rune, but they'll get a big win. Freeze trying to walk back over to the Lotuses, may have walked too far, taking a lot of damage. An attacker, that's where he's supposed to come in and finish them off. Vision on Freeze is there, no vision for the X mark. Torrent will land, of course it will. Welcome to attacker's territory. At least they get one in response.
Great awareness. He had no vision of the Timbersaw, but was still able to predict where the Timbersaw would go. It is a bit of a mind game because the closest path for the Timbersaw through the gate would have been the other way around, but I think attacker predicted that and used the torrent on the other side, the less likely path, thereby winning the mind game exchange and getting a nice freebie.
Well, feels like kills coming out on the Burning are the only kills that we're having for E7. Juggernaut gets that one last bounce of the Omni Slash, and Sultan realizes too late he doesn't really have anything to do here. CTY 3-0-1. What a start for him.
It's a great start for not only the Juggernaut, but also the Storm Spirit. Meanwhile, it is a pretty good start for E7's attacker because he has also picked up another kill. Can he be the difference maker, D-Time? That's what I'm wondering. Because the rest of these lanes are not going too well for E7. But PaperTigers, they are being pressured on that bot side, but there is a charge.
Attackers used to being the difference maker in games that feel impossible. Lots of plays to be made, lots of interesting things that he tries to get done. I'm just curious about what kind of build he wants to go for with this Kunkka right now. Storm Spirit, where are you, Mr. Storm Spirit? Are you dying to neutrals? Careful now.
Dauber already having fallen. I think the build for the Kunkka, I think it has to be the Blade Mail. Against the Timber, you want to go for the Blade Mail, you want to disable the Storm Spirit zap-ins, and potentially, you are going to be the target of the glimpse sometimes. So you want to make sure that you can pop the Blade Mail and make sure that even if you do get glimpse back, you have a bit of a buffer so that your team can then come in.
Got to be careful on this bot lane. Archie could be glimpsed back over here as well. And with the stun, it's not even needed. The bash on top of the charge is diabolical. 7 up, no vision on him. Burning looking for it. A glimpse would do well, and it feels like it will be found eventually. Glimpse back onto the Warlock, not even needed. Attacker comes in. Burning will save the glimpse that he can try and keep himself alive. Torrent will land, of course it does. Attacker's been on point for every single one of them. Will Burning gets a bounty rune denied just to the very end of things, but what's more important is that they do at least get some sort of retribution. This anti-mage will be very slow to farm up his battle fury though.
Not only is the anti-mage down in terms of kills, he's also been dying quite a bit, and the Juggernaut has nearly double the CS, not nearly double, but 1.5 times the CS of the anti-mage, so he will have an earlier battle fury compared to Archie. And this is going to hurt E7, but this is expected because you are playing an anti-mage into a Timbersaw, an unfavorable matchup. Meanwhile, PaperTigers are playing a Juggernaut into a favorable matchup. So E7 walked into this knowing what was waiting in store for them. The only thing is they need to maintain their calm and composure across all of these
You're not getting
lanes.
level 6 on Phoenix. With the way things are going, it just feels like Phoenix is going to be begging for his supernova, and then we'll have nothing to do with it.
What is Attacker doing?
Attacker's doing that thing. X-Ball cannot land. Torrent will also be... No, Torrent lands.
But where is he chasing? Why is he there?
The vibes. He is vibing.
He's actually doing it.
Dude, Tultress, this is what Attacker just does, Tultress. He runs around the map looking for kills, making space for his carries, and now King, who's one right click away, would be interrupted by the Chakram. Storm Spirit zip-zaps in, and now with Sultan having that egg, he'll be able to put it to good use already with the birds on top of the Storm Spirit. Attacker's just trying to prevent the egg from being broken, throws the torrent down in case anyone was looking to contest it.
Brilliant stuff from E7. They actually increase the tempo, and we see Archie coming in now. I think PaperTigers are in trouble. Their Timbersaw certainly should be.
Archie, is there a mana void to be used over here? There will be. He's going to keep himself in the lead with a quick kill. 70 now feels a bit more safe trying to go zipping in with the Storm Spirit, but without HP or mana, he's going to have to recede. He'll get a kill for his trouble that's stolen away. Archie will find a second though, and Archie getting a double kill is far more important than anything else at this stage, because when you look out towards that net worth chart, Juggernaut's like 1,500 gold ahead of the Anti-Mage right now.
Certainly a great recovery for Archie and the entirety of E7. They take down a Timbersaw. I think that is a great kill to find, perhaps the most important kill at this point in the game, if you can't get the Storm.
And the mid-tier 1 tower.
And the mid-tier 1. They I think, have very by a lot of margin have decreased the pressure on them. Now Archie has a lot of space to farm up. But
CTY, it's his time to shine in the meanwhile over in the jungle. Lots of money to be made, and it will be made quickly. Battle Fury up and about at 11 minutes. What a timer, considering he's got a Windlace and Power Treads as well as a Wand on top of it all.
This is a very early Battle Fury coming in for CTY. Couldn't have done it if he didn't pick up this many kills and assists. He's 3-0 in duty time, and the Anti-Mage is 2-2 with 59 lost hits.
That's so cute. Did you see what CTY did? Oh, Archie's going to be found over here. He's going to be silenced up immediately. Level 6 on the Disruptor early on means that this was always a risk, and with Archie falling in his triangle, the bot lane, they do find King as well.
One of the things that people do not consider is that the Storm Spirit is actually so strong against the Anti-Mage in the very early phases of the game, because you don't usually level up your counterspell or skill it up to the max, so you don't actually have too much magic resistance, and you have very little HP. The Storm Spirit comes in with a huge amount of magical damage, more than 400 with his Static Remnant plus his Overload combined. So he just melts the Anti-Mage in the early to mid game. Freeze is going for a Kaya. They have slowed down the Timbersaw's farm, even though he is third in place of net worth. With the way that his game was going, a lot of kills to be had, I would have expected him to already have had the Kaya by now. But the problem for E7 is that there doesn't seem to be a way where they can take CTY down. They can take everyone else out, particularly because the Phoenix does have the Vessel, but how do you take this Juggernaut? Even Attacker, who has gotten the Blade Mail, he can find the kills on anyone he wants, as he has demonstrated so far. But it's the Juggernaut that is going to be the bane of E7's existence.
I mean, if there's an Omni Slash up, there's basically no chance. 7E zip in, forces out the Icarus dive, but the charge is now coming forward. He'll be helped out, and without any birds on top of the Storm Spirit, this is a dead egg. One right click from the Spirit Breaker is all it takes. Attacker settles for something that isn't the best, but at least he'll be glimpsed back. So 7-Up is the one to get the kill. Attacker will be finding safety. Lots of damage onto Burning and Freeze, and if there was a Kunkka nearby, maybe that would have justified an Anti-Mage TP, but when Attacker was glimpsed back, Anti-Mage won't TP either.
2 kills for 1 support, and for E7, that was a very delayed rotation. They had a lot of time. I think they teleported in 3 to 5 seconds a bit too late, and not to mention, Attacker should have teleported it inside of the trees where he wasn't under vision of a potential glimpse. I'm not sure if they expected the Disruptor to be there, but he was, and we all saw how that turned out. Now for PaperTigers, they can't transition that to a tier 1 tower, so it's not a, it's a good exchange. It's not the best thing in the world though, because you do give space to the Anti-Mage to farm up. Freeze is too low on his mana and HP to do anything now.
Anti-Mage is still being a little bit slow, so if you don't start getting kills onto players like the Storm Spirit soon, it is going to be a very difficult game. Nice try on the dodge for the Tidebringer. 7E is brought down solo. He'll have to go back to Fountain, TP back in for a fight if that's going to be the plan for PaperTigers.
Attacker is having a very nice performance. Is going to be going for that Radiance. Should have it pretty soon. Or, well, at a very good timing, in fact. Freeze will pick up so many of these stacks. That's going to be his Sanjin Kaya essentially tea time, and I believe he made the Kaya at around 13 minutes. So he essentially got 2250 gold in 2 minutes. 1000 GPM in the last few minutes.
Hey, getting 18 Ancients will do that. Good catch onto the Storm Spirit. They've got the zip as well. 7E will have to double zip. Rather, they've got the X as well. 7E will have to double zip and use a lot of that mana. Haste Rune now used as well. Can't attack or find any more. 7E will back off while Archie on the top lane will be made a target of the Spirit Breaker.
There is a charge coming in. Or rather, it's going towards that top side. So
yeah.
And there's no follow-up. So PTigers, this is just a bit of poke and prod. And this is the problem with the Spirit Breaker. He's so disruptive when you have a carry on the others, when you have a carry that needs to be farming. All OP wants to do is just constantly find the anti-mage, charge him, just disrupt his farm while the Juggernaut continues farming off. And those little charges, those little 2 to 3 seconds of disruption on the Juggernaut's farm actually makes a lot of difference for the Juggernaut, because take a look at his net worth. He is 3,000 ahead of the anti-mage at this point. A full late-game item, essentially.
And it's looking like it might just get worse.
It's about to for the Phoenix, at least.
Which has been the story of the game so far. Burning, making sure he can come over in case there's an Icarus dive attempt, and well, that attempt never even comes through. Phoenix will not be able to egg, Phoenix will not be able to die, Phoenix will not be able to live. 14 to 10, a tier 2 late siege, and it is gone. CTY with his Montesat en route, if I'm not wrong. 17 minutes Battle Fury Manta is kind of crazy.
Archie does have his own Battle Fury, so now the only question becomes, can E7 hold on to the point where your anti-mage can farm up so that he can contest 7E, potentially take the Storm Spirit out? Because in a farmed up scenario, PTigers may be playing 4v5. The anti-mage can blink towards that backline, take out the Disruptor, and start off a fight with the full force of E7 coming into it, and they do have the ultimates to make it work. But that is, you know, T-Time, a lot of times in Dota, teams like to draft for what is the optimal scenario. But never in the history of Dota has a team, or rather very rarely in the history of Dota has a team ever gotten the ideal scenario off. For E7, what that looks like is the anti-mates creating a 4v5 scenario by taking one hero out, and E7 are able to land each and every single one of their ultimates. But PTigers clearly aren't going to stand still while that happens.
You'd hope so. You know? That would be a bad habit. OP with the charge out towards the top lane will be seen by Attacker, but Attacker actually receives the bash from the charge as well en route, so it's all okay. Attacker is of course the only shining light over here. His Radiance is almost complete, should be by the 20-minute mark, so maybe that can make it difficult because of the rum and whatnot.
Well, will his Radiance light up something at the end of the tunnel is the big question, because Archie, he went down to a Juggernaut. That's not good.
Not at all. Storm in the meanwhile is just solo sieging the mid tier 2, just making sure that his split push is going to keep on going. Freeze with the blade mill. Activated by Attack, has to be careful still. Storm Spirit's gone in. 70's taking a lot of damage. Freeze might even go down to 7-up, but 7-up didn't have Fatal Bones connected on him with anyone else. Supernova fails to stun anyone, and that's where Storm Spirit will go deep with a quick Nether Strike from OP as well. Sure, OP will lose his life, but it's still going to be 2 for 3, and now en route to 4. King slowed down by the Overlord charges. Cookie's away, and with Timbersaw chasing, no Cookie will help, none at all.
7-up with the Golem drop kind of didn't catch the Storm with that chaotic offering. Just a bit too late with it. And really, that's all it takes for the Storm Spirit to win the fight from there. If you cannot catch the Storm, if you cannot lock him down, he will win the team fight in the end. It's as simple as it gets. Meanwhile, you know, Juggernaut continues to farm. And now we're at a position where even Attacker, who was doing so well for his team, is going to be losing his net worth value. He's on 4th position in the charts. Doesn't seem to be doing too well.
He was supposed to have his Radiance by the 20-minute mark. Now, when he hasn't been able to get any kills for a while, gets that death in as well. Radiance just feels like it's further and further away. Now I'm thinking, hey, 22-minute Radiance isn't that bad either, right? It isn't, but it's still not what he needs when his anti-mage is now 5,000 gold behind the Juggernaut. Once over 5,000, Blink's been used. It could be taken down to the hair if you've got one more carry coming in, but with the Storm Spirit unwilling to make a long zip against the Mana Void, he'll stay alive.
Butterfly almost at the ready for CTY, and the problem with missing your power spike on the Radiance is that you can't create a tempo to put pressure on the Juggernaut.
The strike interrupted, the X-Mark comes out as well as the Torrent, and the will mean that we see the death of OP. Perhaps no, he's just so tanky. Freeze top lane, forces out the Supernova, and in doing so, this fight at the bottom side of the map becomes all the more powerful. Remember, there's no tier 2 tower that was taken out early on, so there's no reason for the Radiant to be fighting, but when they both got inside the ring, it'll be the Storm Spirit to be counted upon. 1 for 1 is good, especially considering Archie picks up 600 gold from the kill onto the Storm Spirit.
That's a great kill, that's a huge kill for the anti-mage. Sure, it's not going to mean that he evens up with the Juggernaut, but it's essentially space that what E7 want. It's what they need at this point. And the anti-mage will now have the Manta style, so he can go for the split pushes.
Glimpse back away, you don't have the ultimate for the Disruptor, so there's no chance of keeping the anti-mage locked in position. Blink away means CTY doesn't want to be using, and is probably glad that he didn't use the Omni Slash. Attacker out and about. Omni Slash will be used on a blade mail target. That's ideal. Not just one, but it's the second found as well. Archie Blink into the Juggernaut Omni Slash. And with Freeze now chasing down a Yule Scepter and Phoenix, it's going to be short-lived. A little birdie over there as well.
To save your buddy syndrome, T-Time. Archie thought that he could perhaps disperse the damage from the Omni Slash by taking in some hits too from the Juggernaut. But that just ended up with both their mid laner and their carry falling. For
maybe
E7,
if he had a Manta style?
Yeah, but he didn't.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to calculate that, right? You can't really blame him. At the end of the day, you're just trying to save your friend. And most people would go into that scenario without thinking too much about it. It's a scramble in your brain where you want to save your ally at any cost. Unfortunately, it's the Kunkka that needs to be protecting the anti-mage, not the other way around.
E7 feel like they're getting into murky waters. 16,000 net worth lead for the PTigers. Now they're going to be having an Aegis on top of it all as well. CTY is unkillable because of the butterfly, so if 7 Aegis picks up the Aegis, that just mitigates all threats. And they decide not to. CTY will stick to the Aegis just for a better high ground siege as well, because that's what they're looking at 23 minutes into the game.
There's another charge, so they want to fight, but they will go back. Oh man, they said the Juggernaut is farming up. Do you think it's enough? Do you think burning is shutting the Juggernaut constantly? No, this is not enough. You need to farm up faster, and the Juggernaut.
To be fair, I think CTY has always been known as a very farm-heavy player as well. I mean, I can't remember which game it was, but there was a very big game where he stood in for mid-1. And CTY went 0-0-0 because he was farming all game. They were losing. He was like, well, I might stop losing, so I should be farming, right? So I think he's got that covered.
E7 go for a smoke. And they are heading in the right direction. They also have an observer ward near the Tormentor. They will be able to catch a Timbersaw. This could be a big kill if they can find it.
But the bot lane, they're going to be losing their tier 3 4. This Timbersaw can stay alive for so long. Attacker with the Yule Scepter being used, another 2.5 seconds on the sidelines. Freeze will Timber Chain away, and they're having to use so many resources. Freeze is still alive. On the bot side of the map, they've already taken down the tier 3 tower. Attacker is incredibly low, and a long range Zip now comes in from 70 as well. Freeze is called in the Avengers. They've done their little hero stomping, and now with the Warlock caught out next, Attacker's already down. You're losing 3 players for the cost of none.
It's not just the cost of
nothing going their way.
It's also the gain of the barracks as even the anti-mage shows up, but he can't win the fight for his team.
Old boys still have it, and with a now full team wipe, I think E7 might need to call GG touches.
Well, the game is pretty much over, but you still do have one tier 2 available. that's not going to change anything. I mean, if you throw down 4 heroes on top of a Timbersaw and you're unable to take him out in the 20 to 25 seconds before a counter initiation comes into play, you know that the game is kind of over. And for E7, they're just going to have to go back to the drawing board. I will say that there were a couple of drafts. I mean, just going for a 4 protect 1 draft that's so heavy on your ultimates is a strange idea. It would rarely work out, even if it was against a team that has, you're matched up to skill with.
To be honest, I just think that the Phoenix in particular was a bad pick. When you're looking out towards how effectively CTY's lane went, honestly, the Chinese team probably wins this regardless, but having so many free kills on the Phoenix early on and giving Juggernaut this massive advantage, and Phoenix can't do anything about it, he's got nothing to help with, and now we're going to see the last hurrah. And I don't see anyone saying hurrah on the Radiant side. Mostly they just saying, well, at least we're getting to play Burning.
I can't remember the last time a Phoenix was picked as on the offlane. The meta right now revolves around tanky, utility-based offlaners that provide teamfight value.
Nice catch. 7Es found 2. You've got another quick few kills. You know what, Archie? I believe in the 1 versus 5. I did.
For a second there, even so did I, Titan. You seem very enthusiastic about that, perhaps more so than E7 did. But GG will be called. PaperTigers will win the game 26 minutes in with a 36,000 net worth advantage. And for E7, who are going to be going back to the drawing board, I would think that they pick up a different offlane hero. PaperTigers will be your first game winners. But remember, this is a best of 3, and every single team has an opportunity to mount up a comeback. Bigger comebacks have taken place before.
Absolutely, and I do think that if we go back to the drafting phase again, even if you want to go for something unconventional, I don't hate it. I do actually, I'm fine with going for off-meta picks, but it's just the idea that you're going to go for a very weak off-laner which has a one-dimensional form of escape versus a carry that, honestly, Juggernaut does just really well in lane, right? You've got so much extra magical damage if you just have someone to lock it down. It's sort of like an Ursa in that way, but then you combine that with a Disruptor whose glimpse will just directly counter out that Icarus type touches. How are you going to stop CTY from becoming, as the kids these days call it, a big chunky boy? Like, he's just massive.
There really was no way to stop that Juggernaut. Right, and I think there were problems as soon as the draft started. I do think that revealing both your supports as soon as you start into a draft versus a flex pick is very one-dimensional, and it doesn't leave you with too many rooms, too many options. And then you, on top of that, you pick up a third pick, Phoenix, and sure, you have attackers Kunkka coming up next, and we saw attacker being able to even put 7E on the back foot. A player right now in the competitive tier 1 circuit. So that is a win on its own. That is a good achievement. They should pat themselves on the back, but I don't think that the work here is done. I think they have a lot more in them than what they showed. I think with a few draft changes, they should be able to put a lot of pressure on PaperTigers.
I would like to make the record clear though, I still want more attacker Kunkka, because my goodness, the things he was doing was fantastic in the early game. And honestly, I started to believe that, hey, maybe E7 do have a chance. This anti-mage is getting some ganks coming in his way and whatnot. The problem is, with all of that pressure on the top lane, eventually you have to start making rotations towards top. That's when Archie starts getting picked off more. Archie on the anti-mage ended up dying 2-3 times in the first 12 minutes. Maybe a stronger laning support would have helped over there as well. Like you said, when you've got a Timbersaw going out in front of you, then not putting lane pressure in a way where Timber is forced to solo does feel like a bit of a mistake. It's been some fantastic stuff outside of the draft though. I've got to say, it did look like maybe E7 had a chance over there to still make things happen, and I'm sure they've got some time to go back to the drawing board. For now though, the Chinese Legends come out on top. Game number 2 will be coming up shortly. That drafting phase is going to be critical. The question is, can the Emiratis fight back, or will the Chinese take it all home? Let's find out.
We're here to win. Let the best win.